Welcome to the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast, inspiring real women with a passion for fishing and the outdoors to go get their adventure on. Now, here's your host, Angie Scott and Barb Carey.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Woman Angler and Adventure podcast. Special warm welcome to any hat brats out there who may be joining us for the first time. I'm Angie Scott. My co-host Barb Carey is up in Wisconsin, I think, wishing she was in Nashville because I recently had an opportunity to sit down backstage at the Grand Ole Opry with country music star Terri Clark. For those of you who aren't aware, Terri calls her tribe the Hat Brats. I think we need a name like that for our listeners. So if you have any clever ideas, let me know. Reach out to me, Angie at thewomanangler.com. Anyway, we found out through some fans of the podcast that Terri is an avid angler, so Barb sent me on a mission to try to get her on the show. I wish we could have found a way to do it together, but as you can imagine, Terri has a very busy schedule, and we just kind of had to grab her when we had the opportunity. So, but before we get into that, I'm trying out something a bit new this week, and I'll explain why in a bit. So if you caught last week's episode, which was kind of our recap, looking back, looking forward after about a year of the show episode, we talked about how we're wanting to do more videos. And working on revamping our website it's a huge project because we've got a lot of episodes I have to go back and transfer over to the new website. So it's going to take a little bit of time, but I'm going to get that done as quickly as I can. In the meantime, I've been putting all our past episodes up on YouTube. And there's a couple reasons for that, but one of the biggest reasons is for accessibility because YouTube has an awesome closed captioning feature. And so people who are hearing impaired can still enjoy our podcast by going to YouTube. But this week's episode, I'm doing something even more different. And there's a reason why. So that evening at the Grand Ole Opry where I was able to chat with Terri, which was just, not very long ago as this was coming out. We're releasing this one pretty quickly. It was a super busy night for her. Not only was she hosting a segment of the Grand Ole Opry, if you've never listened to the show, they divide it up into like 30-minute segments, and there'll be a host, and then there'll be a couple different performers that will come on, and the host themselves gets to perform a couple songs. So she had just gotten done doing that, was literally walking off stage, saw me standing in the hall near her dressing room, and said, "All right, are we ready to talk angling?" And she's like, "I got about 10 minutes because I need to go interview Vince Gill for my show." If you're not aware, Terri Clark has her own radio show called Country Gold. It's on the Westwood One radio network, and it's like a 4-hour weekend show. And she interviews stars backstage at the Grand Ole Opry, and so that evening, I believe she was going to interview Vince Gill for an upcoming episode, which, by the way, they put her interviews up on a podcast that you can go listen to, and I highly recommend go check that out because they're really fun. I'll put a link to that in the show notes, which is going to be at thewomanangler.com/57. So anyways, not only does she host the show, she's so good at it that she's been nominated by both the CMA and the ACM as Radio Personality of the Year. So I was a little intimidated going into this whole thing, being that I was going to be interviewing her backstage at the Grand Ole Opry. So I didn't know how the evening was going to go. Her manager just said, you may need to be a bit flexible. Well, when she said we only had 10 minutes, I was in a bit of a rush. I wanted to be sure we could squeeze in as much as possible in that short amount of time. Luckily, I had all my equipment ready to go and set up. I just had to pull it out of my bag. So I did that. We set up in her dressing room, and apparently I hit the record button twice or something. I don't know what happened, but none of it recorded. So I've heard of this happening to other podcasters. Now, I've been doing this for a year. It's never happened to me. I thought I was in the clear. Apparently not. And of all times for something like that to happen, it happened. Thank God my lovely wife Dana was there as my assistant for the evening, and she recorded the entire thing on video on her iPhone. So we got the audio, thank goodness. It's not as good a quality as it could have been, but iPhones are pretty darn good these days, and it turned out not too bad. So since we had the video as well, I figured, and we're doing this whole YouTube thing for accessibility, I figured why not put it up on YouTube as an actual video podcast. So as I record this, I'm doing this on my webcam on my computer, so you'll be able to go watch, or you can listen to the regular audio format, which is on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, all those other regular places, including the Waypoint TV podcast network, which we're so excited to be a part of. So, all that being said, I hope you enjoy this one, whether you're taking it in on the website or any of those other places or YouTube. So thanks as always for your support, for sharing these episodes so we can reach and motivate more women to get involved in the outdoors. And again, special warm welcome if you're just discovering the show for the first time. Hope you enjoy. Please share these episodes. Without further ado, here's my chat backstage at the Grand Ole Opry, Nashville, Tennessee, with country music star Terri Clark.
I am so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Kind of turn the tables on you a little bit because you've been interviewing people backstage at the Opry.
Yes.
So
yes.
I might, you might coach me a little bit through this.
Oh, I don't know about that. You seem to be doing just fine.
So what does the Opry mean to you? You ask the people that question a lot.
Well, it means everything. It's the holy grail of country music. It's what you want to be a part of. When you start getting into country and singing, it's in all the movies. It's in Coal Miner's Daughter. You know, everything I grew up knowing in the history of country music involves the Opry. So it's sort of that moment when you get invited to become a member or even get to play the Opry. It's a huge, huge thing.
Yeah. I actually worked here for about 5 years.
Did you?
So yeah,
I didn't know that.
I was at Usher,
Oh,
and
wow.
it just feels like home.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah,
it's just
it does.
such a great feeling to be here. So, as you know, this is a fishing podcast, and my co-host Barb Carey so wishes she could be here right now. She's up in Wisconsin. She heads up this group called Wisconsin Women Fish, and you apparently have a lot of fans in that fishing group up there. So
I love the cheeseheads. They're awesome. Yeah. I love Wisconsin and I love playing in that area. Great audiences, great country music fans up there.
there's a couple ladies, Julie, and they said tell you hi. They're in that Wisconsin
Well,
Women Fish group.
tell Julie and Julie I said hi back.
I think they want you to be an honorary member of the Wisconsin Women Fish group.
Sure, why not? Does that mean I get to go fishing in Wisconsin?
Oh, heck yeah. Yeah, Barb would love to take you out. We talked briefly about this when we met here last time, but what are your feelings on ice fishing?
I went ice fishing one time, and it was during a sabbatical from alcohol, which was a really bad decision. Because from what I've discovered and learned from people is that part of the fun of ice fishing is also drinking beer while you're doing it. And I was taking a break from it at the time. So I'm going to need to give it another go under different circumstances, because I was like, I just don't get it. So I'm going to try it again. It's freezing though. I mean, it's cold. You're drilling a hole in the ice and sticking a rod down in there, and just, you have to be drinking to do that, to sit out there in the ice for that long.
Yeah. I actually got to ice fish on Lake Superior for the first time.
Great Lakes.
Mhm.
See, that's where I fish
Yep.
on Lake Erie. So it's
Awesome.
one of the Great Lakes.
Yep. So you're from Canada. Like, how did you develop a passion for fishing?
I bought a cottage up in southern Ontario on Lake Erie in 2010. And I really hadn't fished much before then. And I I took it up with some people who, were kind of anglers up there. And my neighbor was a big bass tournament fisher guy. And he took me out in his Ranger boat out to some of the places we're not really allowed to go. And I shouldn't say this probably. When you get a bass on your hook and it starts to fight and jump out of the water, you're addicted. It's like it becomes a game at that point. It's a competition. So you're going to try and haul that thing in, and then you want a bigger one and a bigger one. And I love largemouth and smallmouth bass fishing the most. That's what I like the most. But, if you cast a tube jig out there, you can catch a pike, you can catch a carp, you can catch a sheephead or whatever decides it wants it. So it's just fun catching fish, no matter what they are.
Well, I grew up in Minnesota, and so I grew up fishing walleye was kind of my big thing. And then I moved to Nashville in '99, and we actually live on a houseboat on Percy Priest.
Wow.
But there's no walleye in Percy Priest.
No,
so
there's not.
So I've had to take up bass fishing, and I didn't really get it until I caught my first bass topwater. And
wow.
That's where I was like, okay, I get bass fishing now. Have you had that experience?
I don't think I have.
Okay.
I'd like to.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing when they just come out of nowhere.
Oh, that's amazing.
And attack the lure on top of the water.
I caught a walleye out of Lake Erie last summer that was 2 inches off the Lake Erie record.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was about 11 pounds. And I was out with some friends of mine. He used to be a guide, so they've got all this downrigging equipment in this big, huge, deep boat. And we went way out, and they had 9 or 10 rods going at the same time. We just watching the tip. That was a different experience for me. Like, I had never fished that way before, more like a deep sea type style fishing. And they, that walleye hit the line, and it just started to really bend over. And they said, you need to haul that one. I was sore for days. In fact, I think I'm still having problems with my forearm because of it. But it was hard to haul that.
Is that the one there was a video on your Instagram?
Yes.
Okay.
And I went, holy crap! And I mounted that one.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Probably people were like, you should have ate that.
Well, we also caught our limit. So there was,
nice.
we had 26 fish in the boat.
Oh, wow.
And the smaller ones taste a little bit better sometimes too. So we kept all of those and had some fish fries last summer. It was fun.
What's your favorite body of water to fish then? Is it
Lake Erie?
Yeah.
Got to stay loyal to the home turf up there.
Yep. I got to fish Lake Erie one time. I was hoping to go walleye fishing, but we ended up fishing for perch.
It's great perch.
A ton of fun.
Though I don't really eat bass. I'm meant very much catch release.
Yeah.
So if I do, like, the walleye and the perch are actually the best ones to eat. So those are the ones. But I haven't done a ton of perch fishing. It's just more fun to catch the great big ones.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's all about the fight.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you have any kind of destinations that you would like to fish someday?
Alaska.
Okay.
I want to go salmon fishing and halibut fishing in Alaska. That is one of my bucket list things that I want to do, and I have friends who have done it. And it's just a matter of taking the time off the road in the summertime to go do it. Because it's prime touring season. So I have to get off the bus to get on a plane to get on a boat to go do that. And I'm going to do that.
My co-host Barb Carey, I mentioned before, she's turning 60, and for her birthday, she bought herself a trip to Alaska to go fishing. So she's really
I was going to do that for my 50th birthday when I turned 50, but I didn't do it. So I just, for some reason, it got pushed by the wayside.
So do you get to fish much when you're on the road? Or
no, I threw a line in when we were in Norway. There was a lake there, but we didn't catch anything. The water was really cold, but at least I could say I tried.
That's cool.
No, nothing, no bites or anything.
Cool. Well, speaking of on the road, you have Stagecoach coming up, which is really exciting.
Yes, I do. I've never played it before, and I've heard so much about it that it's just the greatest, biggest, hugest festival to play, and there's different stages, and my baby brother is flying in from Vancouver to come to it, and I don't get to see him very often, so it's going to be a really great time, and I'm excited to get out there and do that.
Well, cool. Well, we'll put a link to your website in our show notes so people can check out where you're going to be touring and hopefully come see you. We'll share your Instagram, so hopefully when you do get out fishing, maybe you'll post some more.
There'll be some
pictures.
Stuff. Yes, there will.
And do you have any kind of words of advice or inspiration for other women out there who have passion for fishing?
If you're in Canada, make sure you stick within the season and don't go into areas you're not allowed to go. I learned the hard way last year. That's what I'll say.
Well, I know you've got another interview to get to where you're going to be doing the interview.
Yes, I am. I know. So. It's a little confusing tonight. I don't know if I'm hosting or radioing or singing or talking about fishing.
So one last thing before we go. Mm-hmm. I heard you do a super awesome Reba impersonation on your show earlier. Can you do
Well, I don't know why you'd say that. Thank you very much. It's very nice to meet you, and I would just love to talk to you about fishing again sometime, anytime you want me to. Thank you.
Awesome. We'll do that. Thank you.
Wasn't that cool? I hope you enjoyed this one, and we'd love to get your feedback, especially if you check this one out on YouTube. Let us know your thoughts in the comments, or send me an email, Angie@thewomanangler.com. Would you like to see more video podcasts? Whatever kind of feedback you got, any guests you want to see in the future, any ideas you have, suggestions, we are more than open to any of that, so please let us know. Thanks again for tuning in this week. We'll be back next week with another episode. We appreciate your support. Take care.